Welcome back to Creating Stuff with Jim. I'm Jim, and it's time to create something. Well, in this episode, this is a little different than some of my normal episodes because I'm not featuring something that I built or I created. I'm featuring something that somebody else did. As you can tell behind me is a friend of mine built a very customized camper, and it has a lot of nice details with it that I really want to share with everybody. So I'd like to introduce you my friend Gary. You also recognize Gary from some other videos. He does majority of the grinding for me, and like I said, a real close friend. But anyways, Gary, to start this, we're going to get the big picture of this. This is not something that's off the shelf that you can go to an RV dealership and buy. I know you pieced all this together, and I helped you a little bit from here and there. But obviously, to start off with, it's a truck with a flatbed with a truck camper. So, and we're going to look at a couple of different things, but to start, why don't we start with something simple? Let's look at the truck. And the biggest thing that I think people are going to notice first and foremost is it's a regular cab. So why did you end up going with a regular cab?
So the regular cab, I've got a Ford F350 dual cab, 8-foot bed dually, and it's big. And I was looking to downsize, making something a little bit smaller. I'm doing this more by myself and maybe with one other person than say my family. And so I wanted to get something smaller, and work with something a little bit different. And that's how I ended up with this rig. In addition to all the stuff that Jim helped me do.
So, well, but yeah, that's actually a good valid reason. So, I mean, I always say is, why do I need the 2 extra doors when I don't need them? But once again, this is not about what I'm doing. This is what he did. So, but that makes a very compact setup. So now I'm going to actually jump behind the camera, and we're going to take a look at some of the details of why I think this is a very nice build, and hopefully you can find something that will inspire you, maybe to help you with something that you're doing. So let's get to it. So Gary, where would you like to start at today?
Well, we'll just start on this side, I guess. So one of the first things I did was I installed a front receiver so that we could put a winch or a basket or a tire or a bicycle carrier or something up there, just whatever you might want to put up on the front.
Okay.
It currently has a winch. As we come around, the truck is a 2012 Dodge with a Cummins engine in it. It was used. I bought it with about 190,000 miles on it. It seems to be a pretty good vehicle. Haven't had any real issues with it. I had some issues originally and changed out a couple of temperature sensors and it fixed it. So the truck's in pretty good shape. It's got new tires on it. I just wanted new tires, something on there.
Do you have any kind of lift on it?
It has a leveling kit on the front and airbags on the back. So generally with this setup as it is right now, I'm running about 50 pounds of air in the back, which I feel is pretty good, because my F350 with a big camper, I was always running like 80 pounds in it. So it's not as heavy, I guess, as my other camper setups. So I did put tow mirrors on the vehicle after I bought it. It didn't have tow mirrors, and anytime you have something that you're towing behind you, or even the camper being on there, it gets a little difficult to see around the edges, and it's nice to have the better tow mirrors. So I did put that on there.
Now I think we're going to get to a lot more interesting stuff. So because this is I don't want to call this the elephant in the room, but this looks like it's got a lot of stuff going on back here.
There is a lot of stuff going on back here. So the Alaskan camper that Jim happened to help me find and help me pick up was a very good addition to my camper setups. I got several campers.
And actually, just for people who don't know, what's so special about an Alaskan camper other than the name?
So the Alaskan campers are hard-sided campers. A lot of pop-up campers have canvas at the very top, say 16 or 18 inches, where this is strictly a hard side. When it goes up, it's hard side. The top is bigger than the bottom, basically, and it just goes over top.
So this actually raises up, so you actually can stand up inside when it's raised up.
Yes, you can stand up inside. It raises about 20 inches from this height that is right now, about 20 more inches up. This is the only hard-sided pop-up truck camper on the market at this time. Yeah, it's a unique camper. I've had soft-sided pop-ups, and you get a lot of extra noise and a little filtration of stuff, you know. But this is just it's like having a regular truck camper that has hard sides. But it is an up and down movement, you know. So okay, so basically the biggest thing is you have all the insulation properties, sound deadening properties, and comfort of having a full hard-sided camper, but you have the benefit that it can drop the top so you can lower your center of gravity and your height clearance to improve basically accessibility. You can get this camper more or less anywhere, a lot more places than full-size truck campers can. That is very true.
More or less, just to point out, a good example is his old camper behind us is an F350 dually hard-sided, and that's a lot taller than this camper is fully collapsed.
Now we have a flatbed, and the flatbed is actually a 9-foot long flatbed, which means it's a foot longer than most 8-foot truck beds, you know, so it gives me a little bit more room. And then the Alaskan camper was sort of unique because it was a 7-foot Alaskan camper, and that's sort of, they make all different lengths. 7 foot is a little bit shorter than what their normal ones are, so that gave me an opportunity to put the camper on there and have a 2-foot area between the headache rack of the flatbed and the front of the camper, which I call my garage. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there. And we'll take these covers off and we'll look in there, but we'll go around it first. Let's do that. Okay. With this setup, most of my stuff is outside. I have very little that's actually inside the camper. All my cooking stuff's out here. My food stuff's out here. I do have a refrigerator in the camper, but I have we can do that. Let's I've got several compartments here. So right now, currently, I have this is basically my food storage, and there's a couple of bottles there in front, but that's my food storage. And down here in the bottom, I actually have a Coleman 2-burner stove. So this, you know, and I've got some pots and pans in here, and it gives me my cook area sort of right there, which I have other cooking utensils also, but that gives me a compartment that all this stuff used to be inside the camper, and now it's not in there anymore.
And I will say that's very convenient, because the reality, most of the time when you're camping, you cook outside anyways.
Yeah. In front of this thing, this flatbed was it was a we have to think that it was some type of welding flatbed, and there was a big hole here. It looked like some oxygen and acetylene bottles were in there, and this was actually just sort of an open compartment, and I ended up cutting the door and just creating a little place to put some gas cans, some Coleman fuel, a extra bottle of propane. I can pretty much put anything in there. It's just a good little compartment. You know, it's an outside compartment. Nothing, don't have to worry about anything getting wet in there. So that's those two. And something I wanted to create was a way to just get up a little bit and get up into my garage. And I created basically a couple steps. And this thing here, sort of pretty basic, but it can be moved around. It's designed to go like there, and you can, you know, physically get up on it and get up and do things. I can get up inside of here, where when you're down here, you just can't get up in there real good. So I created a step that works very well. Once I had the camper mounted, I decided I needed to make the whole outside some kind of storage area. So I had a lot of aluminum laying around, and I created a box. And this is I had to buy this sheet, But a lot of this other stuff I had laying around and was able to make a nice compartment. So basically I have a 7-foot long compartment that's a little over, not quite 2 foot deep. And in this particular compartment, I actually have a Blackstone grill. I have a regular propane cook grill. I have a lot of little extra things. My cook kit's basically in a couple of Rubbermaid things, or this clear plastic. I got single burner stoves. I've got cooking ware, you know, just the normal things you would use for cooking a meal, you know.
Well, I have to say, this one compartment alone, I'm sure there's a lot of people with RVs that would be jealous of the amount of storage space you have. I think the only thing comparable I can think of is like a motor coach style RV with the underbelly. Is the only kind of camper that has more storage than this. But for the people that don't know, is this particular area right here, on a traditional setup of a truck camper and a pickup truck, this would be a sheet metal bedside, and all this space would be wasted. So this is an incredible amount of storage. I mean,
there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, there is.
Down here I've got another compartment. This is an added box, and it basically has there's a bottle jack in there, there's jumper cables, there's air hoses, there's extra stuff. I have a small propane tank, a couple of blocks in case you had to jack the vehicle up and give you some kind of a base to work with. We have, on this side, we have one of the instant propane water heat showers that I've sort of tied in to the outside of the vehicle. I got to run a propane line to it to fire it up. I still have to put a shower head. I can put a shower head on it. And my water, I'm actually using there's a 30-gallon water tank in the camper, and this is sort of like an outside water place you can use to get water, or it's a drain. It could be several. And I've tied the hot water heater into that, so all I have to do is open that valve.
Okay.
And the water out of my camper can be used for the water for the shower. And I would probably put a shower stall out here. I've got a little portable thingy that you can pop up. And
it almost looks like you built a porch on the back of this camper.
Yeah. I like my porches. Even my other camper project, I've got a small porch on the back of it. I like to be able to step out of the camper and at least stand at that level instead of having to get out or something. And this works out very well. This is some fiberglass grating. I don't know what they actually call the stuff. And it's basically just sitting on 2 aluminum pieces of metal that are 2x2 and a 1/4-inch wall, and they're in receivers in the bed of the truck that I put in myself.
So this porch is removable.
This porch is removable. 2 hitch pins underneath. You can just get up underneath a little bit, and we can pull that thing right out of there and get it out of the way. Which there's a possibility I'd use it like that. I like my setup like it is right now, though.
But it's nice to have the flexibility for whatever the setup you need. You can easily change it to what your needs are.
That's true. This deck, I have these folding steps. They actually came with the camper, and it was originally it was 4 steps, and I found that when I put it on my truck, it wasn't enough steps. So we have a local metal dealer. They have aluminum, and I can get scrap aluminum for fairly cheap. So I went and bought some aluminum, and Jim and I built 2 steps, and they actually went very well. They look like the original steps. Basically, just instead of using rivets, I ended up using bolts with lock nuts, and we added 2 steps. And I found that the 2 steps was too many, so I ended up taking one of them off, and the 5 steps is really perfect almost. And then I built these little brackets that this thing will just slip right on. They're sort of pinned in. I can actually put them anywhere around this deck. if I'm pulling a trailer, you can't have the steps coming off the back if the trailer's still attached, so you need to be able to come off to the sides. And sometimes it might not be better for one side or the other, you know, depends upon where you're at and what you're doing.
And also, and I'll just point out something that I noticed is since this is removable, you have mounts here, but then you also have mounts on the back of the camper. Yes. So if your porch is off, your steps will still work on the camper.
The steps will still work on the camper. And before I had the deck on, and you know, I have these steps here. It takes a couple minutes to take them. It's not that big of a deal, but they're heavy. They got to be taken off. So I wanted to be able to get into the camper if I'm just on the road and I stop at a rest stop or something of that nature. So I found these aftermarket steps that they put on a lot of the newer trucks. This happened to come off of this. Was bought for I think it was a Toyota Tacoma. I'm not sure what year it was. It came with extra brackets. I was able to make something work. So basically what I have is a step that I can just get right up here. I'm up on my camper. I can get in it and do things and not have to get my steps out. So I have some knockoff Max Tracks. Hopefully I never have to use them, but again, I use the E-Track, I guess single mounts is what they are, and screwed them in to put my 4 knockoff Max Tracks, and they're bolted on. They probably wouldn't come off. There's an all thread that goes over. Had to buy some longer all thread because that particular E-Track stuff didn't come with anything long enough. So I did that. Very easy place to work with. I don't think it adds that much weight to you don't want to put so much weight on that. But then you come over here and I've got basically the same setup that I have on the other side. I got boxes over here, and this particular one's I've got a couple of lanterns, propane, a Coleman, some extra propane tanks, tarps, just things that you would possibly need when you're out camping. The interesting part is with the 350 setup, and I didn't have any of this side box storage, and I was using the back seat and the inside of the camper, is that I have this, if I don't have more, I have at least the same amount of stuff that I had in the other truck, which was a lot bigger truck, you know, and you felt like you had more room, but you really didn't, you know. So on this side here, I have a bunch of extra tarps, an easy up, bungee cords are always good to have around, folding chair, some tarp poles, extendable poles that you can support a tarp with. Basically anything you want to put in there.
Once again, that is an incredible amount of storage space. But not only is this a lot of storage, this is a lot of convenient storage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just easy to access. So
in my other camper, this would be inside the camper, and you'd have to get it out and out of the way. A seat may be in the camper. It was a lot of stuff you had to move around, and now I don't have to do that. I've got it all outside. So that's that compartment. This one's still a little work in progress. I've got some shoes. I've got my play toys. I got some a little thingy I'd use it for race. Also inside this compartment, I have an ARB air compressor for my onboard air, because I do have air shocks.
Or airbags.
Or airbags. And on this side, what I did is I put, this is old school. I've been doing it for years.
Now tell you what, he says old school. But this is I want someone to put in the comments if you know what this black piece of plastic is for. This is a test to see how old you are.
Yep. So there's an air chuck there. I have one of those on the other side also, basically a duplicate of this. And I have a Schrader, a regular, like an air valve, it's called Schrader valves. I could actually put air in here and fill the system. I have a gauge. It runs about 100 pounds when it's fully charged. There's plastic air lines and everything. I have to mention it. So Jim wanted to sort of help me personalize my camper project, and he did me real well. He got his plasma cutting deal out and made me this out of a piece of aluminum. It's just a GB and it's a bell. He actually had some nicer ones made for me, but this is the first one that went anywhere, and because that was his, and there's no reason not to. Sort of incognito. People wouldn't normally see it, but he and I know what it is.
As I like to say, when you're an artist, you need to sign your work.
That's right. Up here on the front of the headlight rack, I actually have 2 paint poles. They got the little clicky button, and you can raise and lower them. So that thing's about, I would say it's probably 6 foot long from here to the other side, and then it clicks, you know, up to 8 or 9 foot, 10 foot. I don't know what it was.
Now,
And we used it for pushing up a tarp for when we created a big tarp between trees and stuff. It gives you something to push up on it and make a teepee out of it, so water and stuff sheds off of it. In here I didn't change a lot, but I needed a place to do my air stuff. So right there that Jim's putting this camera on is a gauge. It's 2 manual switches. Basically you push them up or down and it puts air in the airbags or it takes air out of the airbags. And a couple of switches. One controls the compressor and the other one controls a 12-volt circuit. One of them's not being used. There's a couple of lights on there. I have one light on there that tells, I have a boat power switch under the hood, and it'll tell me whether that switch is on. And I'll show you what that particular thing. So when you go under here, I've got this big old honking, it's a boat switch basically, and you can turn it on, and what it powers up is this plug that the winch plugs into, or anything else. I actually have a set of jumper cables that I can plug into here, and you got the jumper cable clamps on it, so I could jumper somebody from here.
Okay, so you put a boat switch because when you're not using this, there's no reason to leave the electricity to this.
Right.
Because if this were to arc out on something, there's no fuse in this, so you're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah.
So that's why you put the switch. But what basically, if you guys hadn't followed, is the indicator light he put in on his dash. So if he uses this and forgets to turn that off, he has an indicator light on the dash to remind him that he left it on.
Right.
So that's actually a very, very smart thing to do, because
it was very easy to do too. It's just a matter of running a wire back to a light.
Because unfortunately, is whenever you have an unfused battery cable, which is generally very difficult to fuse these. Cable. If these arc out and you don't catch it in time, can catch the vehicle on fire and they'll burn to the ground. Yep. So that's actually a very, very nice safety feature of not only the switch, but also the indicator light to remind you left it on. Yep. So that's, I'll be honest, that's the first time I've ever seen anybody do that, and that's very smart. We're taking a quick peek up on top, and he has, other than the air conditioner that came with the camper factory, we've got some solar panels. So how many? So how much solar panels do you got up here?
So we have 4 100-watt solar panels. They're actually hooked up in series/parallel. So they put out like 40-some volts to get you your 12 volts that you need.
Okay, and what? And you got to tell us what did you make these brackets out of?
All homemade. I got the 1-inch square aluminum rods that go from the front and the back, and if you notice up on the front, there's a hoop basically that the front end is sitting on. Those actually were a bunch of yard chairs that I pieced together and Jim welded for me.
That's a very good way to recycle materials, and I gotta say that the curve on them matches the curve on the camper perfectly. So
the biggest reason for doing it that way is I didn't want to drill holes in the roof.
I think that's a very smart.
And it has worked out. So I didn't know if it was going to be strong enough, but it's been on several trips and it's held up very well. upper panel will come off. You'll notice I got a hole here. It's because it just made it convenient for a place for something to hold the plastic. And really, these sheets are only there to keep people from looking in and see what I have and keep the majority of the water off. You don't expect to keep it. There's a ton of room here. Down here I happen to have one of the propane fireplaces, and I've had that and firewood in here. I actually have a scooter that goes up here, and that's the reason I have this. This is it was from my father's handicap scooter lift. He had a handicap scooter, and I have this, and I think it might. Yeah. So it just, and I put the cover on it. That's sort of a weather cover. It'll keep the majority of the weather off of it. You can't really see it but I'm not going to take it off. There's no reason to take it off. But that's this thing will go almost down to the ground. Not quite, almost. It could probably be a little longer, but it works for what I'm doing. But
All right, now we're just showing the inside of the Alaskan camper, which is this a full-size bed, or do you know what size it is?
No, it's not. It's I think it's like 49 inches wide. I don't know what you would call that. It's not really a full size, I don't think.
Okay, so but a decent well, as I'd like to say it, when I finally stepped up to doing a truck camper, it's a whole lot more comfortable than a tent. But we have a nice bed up front where I'm sitting, and unfortunately this camper is a little bit on the small side. Once again, it was made for a short bed truck, that's why it is so short. But once again, this dining area that I'm currently sitting in, these beds actually fold out into a bed, correct?
Right, they're jackknife couches.
And then you have a tabletop that's stored on the ceiling that you can set up so this is a dinette.
And it just clips into this rail over here, and it's got a leg that pops down that sits on the landing there. And
these are all standard features for an Alaskan camper?
They are. That's sort of what they're unique for, is they put their tables up there. I don't know about I think all the ones that have the forward dining area, like this one is, they're all jackknife, but there are other models that are side benches, and there's other different configurations in this particular one. I like this configuration. With the big windows, and you're sitting there, you feel like you're more outside than you are inside. It's just it's an open feeling.
Yeah, this is a very nice interior for where campers are concerned. This looks like a very nice quality interior.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, which this looks like this is real wood, because a lot of times, I will say in my truck camper, they use contact paper to make it look like wood grain. Yeah. So they just put particle board.
I think some of it's Formica, but this is like a panel. This is a panel board.
Yeah. So
it's got a little bit of storage. You got these two cabinets up here, and I got 3 cabinets over here. It's got like I say, most of my stuff that I'm using is outside. I do have a little bit of stuff in here, but it's probably adequate. I haven't used it on any real long trips, so usually if you're carrying your clothes or in a bag or something, it's just going to throw in here anyways. So I've replaced the stove the refrigerator that was in here. I replaced it with this one. I'm really not as happy with it. This is a new modern one that runs off 12 volts and 110. the old one was bigger in size. This opening is only so big, and the new modern ones, they make them smaller. You know, and I don't know why they do it that way, but this thing is definitely a little bit smaller than the stock old refrigerator was in here. But it is what it is. And then I got a cabinet here. And I have...
But now we're looking at this way. It looks like we got an electrical panel or something like that. What do we got going on here?
So originally this was a little, like a door that you see on a lot of house sinks that you can put your sponges and soaps and stuff in, a little drawer thing. Well, I took it out, and it became part of my solar panel, power management, and electrical. So I put in a USB port here. I've got a 12-volt port, which I'm not real happy with that thing. That a brand new port and it's already falling apart. It just don't make any sense. There. Anyways, I had an old aviation clock that I got from my father-in-law. He was a watchmaker by trade, and I've had it for a lot of years. And it's sort of neat just to put something different in a panel. You have to wind it, fix the time. Keeps good time though, you know, and it's not electronic. Then I have here I have a this is my controller for my solar controller. Gives you a little bit of information there. You know, basically what you got, what kind of a charge you got on, and whatever. I also have you can unplug this thing, and I have a Bluetooth module that you can plug in, and you can use it off your phone. It gives you actually better information than this particular one does, I feel like.
So now let's take a look at your electrical system.
So we're going to be sort of limited on how you can see it, but no, I don't know if you want to pull it any more than that.
Okay.
And then we're going to take this cover off. I have things down here. I'm an electrician by trade, so I like a nice fluke meter. And these are cables that I use for solar. Go ahead and let's see. I have a cable for solar. This is actually a lithium battery charger, strictly a lithium battery charger. That way you can charge properly these lithium batteries, because most campers don't have that type of charger. And these things were here just to sort of level things out. I just want to show you here. These are just things I shoved in there to keep things from moving. So I got two 100 amp hour lithium batteries in here, and they come, you can take them in and out of here. You have to do it one at a time, but this will slide over just enough that you can pull that one out, and you can slide that one over and pull it out. My solar controller is over here on the side, and I have these switches that control several things. This particular one here on the left, which is off, you have I got two batteries, so each battery goes to this. I can use both batteries, or I can use one battery, one or either one. And what this particular switch does, it actually powers up my 2,000 watt inverter that gives me 110 volts. And I bought this one specifically because of the size. A lot of them are square, and anyways, this one's, I bought it to fit there, and it worked real well. The other switch is for your 12 volt out to the different things I've plugged in to the two batteries here, and I can use one battery or the other battery or both batteries, or turn them off, and it works out real well. All my electrical fit under here, and I was still able to put more junk under here.
Well, this is about the end of the video, and I have to really thank Gary. I really want to thank you for sharing your build with everybody, because I think even though people you might not build the exact thing, I think there's enough details in this and enough good ideas that I think a lot of people could probably take a lot from it. So I really want to thank you very much for sharing this with everybody. Like I said, this is a really, this is a really incredible build. And then the other side of it is, we're not talking money on this channel, but I'm all about being cheap as I use. and this is a very affordable setup, because the truth of it is the amount of I mean, for being a regular cab. Nah, I don't want to put that in there, but anyways, so we're gonna bring this to an end. If you like the video and you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and also if you liked it, please share it with your friends. So and I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoy making them and sharing with you. And like I said, once again, we're going to thank Gary for sharing all this, because and you will see him on my channel again, because he's been helping me a lot on the Inferno build. So he does majority of the grinding for me. So tell you what, I will see you on the next one.
Thank you very much for listening.